for Monday, June 26, 2017 has now been called to order. We will have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by myself. Please stand. Heavenly Father, we come this evening in the most humble and gracious way we know how, giving thanks upon all the many blessings you have restored upon us as your Christian people. We ask a special blessing upon the city of Lake Charles, the parish of Calcasieu, and the state of Louisiana, Heavenly Father. We ask that every member gathered here tonight, Father, will govern with honesty, with fairness, so that we can represent the people in which we have as our constituents. We ask these many blessings, Heavenly Father, we can go forth and make this city and parish a great place to live here in Southwest Louisiana. We uplift you and we thank you. In your Son named Jesus, amen.
Amen.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Secretary, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Antipon?
Here.
Mr. Barris?
Here.
Vice President Green?
Here.
Mr. Collins?
Here.
Mr. Farnham?
Here.
Mr. Hillary?
Here.
Mr. Landry was unable to attend. Mr. Latour?
Here.
Dr. Mackey?
Present.
Ms. Mayo?
Here.
Mr. McMillan?
Go Tigers.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Trimmy was also unable to attend. Mr. White?
Here.
President Gidry?
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We'd ask that if anyone that has any type of cell phone or any type of device, we ask that you would silence that device so that we can govern our meeting in order. And if there's anyone that would like to speak on any of the items, we ask that you would fill out one of the blue slips in the rear of the room and bring that up to Ms. Jessica, and we'll make sure that we'll put you on the agenda. With that being said, we'll move on to item number 4. Take appropriate action on applications for liquor and beer. Mr. Crane.
Mr. President, we have 4 applications before you tonight and recommend they be approved.
Move. Second. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Guillory. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 5, consideration of approving payments of all current invoices and advice regarding monthly budget to actual comparisons. I have a motion by Mr. Farnham and a second by Mr. Latour. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 6, consideration of approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the police jury dated
Move on,
May
six.
18, 2017. I have a motion by Mr. White and a second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 7, consideration of approving the parish-wide drainage liaison committee report dated June 13, 2017. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. McMillan. Any discussion? Any objection? We have a speaker on that item. Mr. Charlie Atherton, please come to the mic. Please state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Charlie Atherton, 122 Vine Street. I'll be brief. The main drainage project that you jurors should be focused on is engineering a long-range parish-wide drainage master plan to collect and pump rainwater from each of the parish's major watersheds to the Gulf or to the Cameron Marshes without using the ship channel. You must admit that drainage is tidal influenced and that sea level rise and subsidence makes Calcasieu similar to New Orleans, and rainwater will have to be pumped south without using the ship channel. The last Army Corps of Engineers drainage study told you, basically from this podium, that Calcasieu was too low and flat for gravity drainage. And the public would really like to be involved if and when you develop the engineering scope and deliverables and go out for bid for such an effort. This is something that's going to happen, and I send you that little thing there. That's an old study, but it shows we're a hole in the ground and sinking. And I'm just asking that, as you move forward, you do whatever you need to do for long-range planning, which will eventually, it won't be in my lifetime, may not be in yours, but you got to start now. I appreciate your time and your effort.
Thank you, Mr. Atherton. We had a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. McMillan. Any other discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 8, adopt an ordinance to levy the following 2017 maintenance tax millage rates as submitted by the parish tax assessor. Let me go through these right quick. Criminal justice system maintenance, 3.02 mills. Courthouse complex correctional center maintenance, 3.12 mills. Mosquito control maintenance, 2.3 mills. Airport District Number 1 maintenance, 0.6 mills. Burton Coliseum Agricultural Service maintenance, 1.43 mills. Health Unit maintenance, 2.37 mills. Juvenile detention maintenance, 3.33 mills. Road and drainage maintenance, 3.88 mills. Ward 3 Fire Protection District Number 2 maintenance, 11.54 mills. Library maintenance, 5.51 mills. Sewage District Number 11 of Ward 3 and 8 maintenance, 7.02 mills. Waterworks District Number 5 and Ward 3 and 8, 5.24 mills. Water District Number 5 of Ward 3 and 8, debit service, 0.17 mills. Last one, Waterworks District Number 2 of Ward 4, maintenance, 6.38 mills.
Move on to item 8 and all millages.
I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. McMillan on all millages and a second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Number 9, adopt an ordinance to levy the following 2017 general purpose tax millage rates and submitted by the parish tax assessor. We have 2 of those. Calcasieu Parish, except City of Lake Charles, Town of Iowa, City of DeQuincy, City of Sulphur, and the City of Westlake. Town of Vinton at 4.18 mills. Next item, Calcasieu Parish within incorporated limits of the City of Lake Charles, Town of Vinton, City of DeQuincy, City of Sulphur, and the City of Westlake at 2.09 mills.
Move on to item 9 and all millages.
I have a motion by Mr. McMillan on all items and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Do you have anything on that, Mr. McMillan, you wanted to add?
I'm good.
Okay. Item number 10.
Move on 10.
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving call
Second.
for an election to be held on November 18, 2017 by the Board of Commissioners of the following special service districts. A, Fire Protection District Number 1 of Ward 6 for authorization to issue bonds not exceeding $3.8 million for a period of 20 years. And 2, levy and collect a 3 mil ad valorem tax on all property subject to taxation for a period of 10 years. Item B. Did we need to take each one of these one by one? Or together, okay. Item B, Recreation District Number 1 of Ward 8 for authorization issued bonds not exceeding $3 million for a period of 20 years. 2, levy and collect a 8.72 mills ad valorem tax on all properties subject to taxation for a period of 10 years. I had a motion by Mr. Latour and a second by Ms. Mayo. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 11, consideration of adopting a
Move on,
resolution
11.
approving issuance, sales,
Second.
and delivery by the Memorial Hospital Service District of not to exceed 10 million hospital revenue bonds. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. Latour. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 12,
Move on
consideration of
12.
adopting a resolution
Second.
ratifying the execution of a local government proclamation of pending state of emergency, which activated all emergency preparedness plans due to Tropical Storm Cindy. I have a motion by Ms. Mayo and a second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 13,
Move on 13.
consideration of adopting a resolution
Second.
approving and amending to the cooperative endeavor agreement for the pooling of gaming revenues between the police jury and the city of Lake Charles for the purpose of including the city of Westlake into the gaming pool. Madam Secretary, please note for the record that I will be recusing myself of this item.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Beam.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick note, certainly any questions you have on this item we can answer, but I want to point out that there is a companion item that is my error, I apologize, inadvertently didn't include it here, but it's separately from this amendment for the gaming pooling agreement. It's simply approval to enter the CEA or cooperative endeavor with the city of Westlake and Lake Charles and the gaming district for their participation. So it's kind of just a formality, but it does need to be a separate item. So after this one, President Guidry will have to go through the emergency item because this was after the agenda had been posted. So just a clarification that there's an item that we would ask that you take action on it after number 13 as opposed to end of the meeting, just because it's tied to it.
Thank you, Mr. Beam. Please review the item.
Well, we got to finish 13. You got a motion and a second on 13.
Okay. I had a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Ms. Mayo. At this time, we will go ahead and proceed with the emergency.
No, you need to vote on this item, or
Okay.
however you want to
Vote
handle
on
it.
13.
All right. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. We will now move forward to the emergency item. Thank you, Mr. McMillan.
Yes, sir.
Please review the item printed below for your consideration. The chair will entertain a motion to suspend the rules to allow this item
So
to be
moved.
added to the agenda. I have a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. Scott. Are there any comments from the public on adding this item to the agenda? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? If none, we'll now move on the motion to suspend the rules and add this item to the agenda. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Also, Madam Secretary, I would ask that you would also note that I would be recusing myself of this item also.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Item 1, consideration of adopting a resolution
approve
approving a
item one.
cooperative endeavor agreement between the Calcasieu Parish Gaming Revenue District of the City of Westlake and the City of Lake Charles for inclusion of the City of Westlake into the gaming revenue pool, and further authorizing the Vice President of the Police Jury to execute all documents related thereto. I have a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. Barris. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this item at this time? Please speak. All in favor of this motion on the floor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1 passes. Moving on to item number 14.
Well done.
There's no action needed on 14. Moving on to 15. Take appropriate actions on a request by Alan Seal and wife to rezone from mixed residential, manufactured home park, and light commercial
on 15
to
to be granted
recreational
with
vehicle park
stipulations.
to allow a recreational vehicle park at 318 Phillips Road in Ward 4. The Planning and Zoning Board met on Tuesday, June 20th, 2017, and voted unanimously to recommend that this request be granted with stipulations. I have a motion by Mr. McMillan and a second by Mr. White. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried.
Go now.
Item number 16, take appropriate actions on a request by Granger Gator Hog Saloon LLC
Move on
to
16.
rezone from
Second.
light
Second.
commercial to general commercial to allow a lounge at 2636 Highway 3059 in Ward 3. The Planning and Zoning Board met on Tuesday, June 20, 2017, and voted unanimously to recommend that this request be granted with stipulations. I have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 17, take appropriate actions on a request by Sherry Richard to rezone from manufactured home park to recreational vehicle park.
Move to
allow a
approve
recreational
with
vehicle
stipulations.
park, 11 spaces at 6461 Johnny Jones Road. The Planning and Zoning Board met on Tuesday, June 20th, 2017, and voted unanimously to recommend that the request be granted with stipulations. I have a motion by Mr. Barris to uphold Planning and Zoning, and a second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 18.
Move on 18.
Take appropriate action on a request by Golf Mobile Home Park LLC to rezone from manufactured home park to recreational vehicle park to allow a recreational vehicle park, 11 spaces in the 1800 block of Red Davis McCollister,
McCollis.
close? Okay, thank you, Mr. Scott. Road in Ward 3. The Planning and Zoning Board met on Tuesday, June 20th, 2017, and voted unanimously to recommend that the request be granted with stipulations. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. McMillan. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 19, consideration of adopting an ordinance rescinding ordinance number 6716 due to the prospective purchaser.
Move on 19.
failed to
Second.
fulfill the necessary requirements in order to complete the sale. I have a motion by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Andrepont. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 20, consideration of adopting an ordinance authorizing the sale of the following adjudicated properties
Move.
to
Second.
prospective bidders. A, Medora Street. B, 928 North First Avenue. C, 2222 Half North Highway 171. D, 1929 Winter Halter Street. E, Lot 8, 508 North Enterprise Boulevard. F, 1308 Simmons Street. I have a motion by Mr. Andrepont and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 21.
Move on 21.
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the proposed budget for the operation of the Southwest Louisiana Crime Laboratory for fiscal year 2017-2018 as requested by Sheriff Tony Mancuso. I have a motion by Mr. Forner and a second by Mr. Brame. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 22, consideration of adopting a resolution approving a professional service agreement between Sewer District Number 11 of Ward 3 and 8 and Mancheck Consulting Group for services
Move.
and design
Second.
related to wastewater lagoon cleaning project. I have a motion by Mr. Barris and a second by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 23.
Move on 23.
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the police jury and C.H. Finstermaker and the Water Institute of Gulf to conduct a pilot study for a real-time forecasting system on the Contraband Bayou watershed. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. McMillan. Any discussion? Any objection? We do have discussion. By all means, Mr. Scott.
Mr. Beam, what, about how much money are we talking? I know it's a great study and we need to do this, but do we have any idea what the ticket on
I
this
need
would
to
be?
ask Alan to answer that.
I'm sorry.
Number
The
20.
proposal, as proposed, was 106,000.
Oh, thank you. Mr.
So this-
McMillan will
this-
take care of that.
Again, this is a
gave his
real-time
Westlake.
forecasting effort. So this is generating a method where we can forecast daily flood events at the street level. It's a pilot program that once we work it out, that we'd like to expand to other areas of the parish.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. McMillan, did you want to add anything?
Ignoring you.
We had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 24, consideration of adopting
Move on
a
20.
resolution ratifying the submittal of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security Port Security Grant in the amount of $1,060,000. I have a motion by Mr. Collins and a second by Mr. Barris. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 25, consideration of
25 all
adopting a
bullets.
resolution while applicable for each of the following items as requested by the Human Service Department. Let me read those into the record. A, certifying that the Housing Choice Voucher Program, Section 8 housing is categorically excludes from activities listed at 24 CFR 58-35B. B, approving a memorandum of understanding between the partners in the one-step system for the 2017-2018 program year. C, approving an agreement between the Workforce Development Board, WDB, and the Chief Elected Officer. to establish responsibilities for each party. D, acknowledgement submittal of minutes of the Human Service Advisory Board for the meeting held on March 21st, 2017. I have a motion by Mr. McMillan on all bullets and a second by Tony Guillory. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carried. Item number 26.
Move on 26.
Consideration of authorizing the parish purchasing agent to advertise for requests for qualifications for professional engineering services for regional watershed planning and strategic analysis. I have a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. White. Did you want to add anything on that, Mr. Scott?
Can I, Mr. McMillan?
Whatever y'all like.
No, Ed.
I'm good.
Did you have something, Mr. McMillan?
Good.
We had a motion by Mr. Scott and a second by Mr. McMillan. Any, Mr. White, any discussion? Any objection? Let me just have a quick point of personal privilege. This past week, you all know that Tropical Storm Cindy came our way, but I just want to give the proper thanks to OEP. They did an outstanding job, and I would like for Mr. Beam to pass that on to Mr. Grimillon from all of us here, that we appreciate the information that was given in a timely manner to where we could tell our constituents questions that they had, that they were really, worried about, that we could answer for them. So again, Mr. Beam, please pass that on to Mr. Dick Grimillon, that his staff and himself
Certainly
did an
will.
outstanding job. And my vice president did an outstanding job, too.
I was there, I can attest to that.
Did you want a point of personal privilege, Mr. McMillan?
Move to adjourn.
Second. Is there anything else we need to discuss at this matter? I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
You already got one.